hello, my name is Dr. Shumbles, and today we're gonna have our presentation of what is going to be my Roger deck going into OP13. The OP13 is right at the door, and so I decided to share my list for you guys to give you some inspiration. Maybe you wanna try it yourselves. In case you are expecting gameplay with this deck list, you won't see it, but there is a lot of videos of gameplay of me in the channel, so make sure to check those out. And so let's get into it. Yes, there's no Promo Roger here. We have confirmation that Promo Roger is coming in December, but this is the list that I'm going into as soon as the OP13 starts, if that's going to be the deck that I'm going to start with. In case you don't know, I'll be playing two decks this format, which is this Roger and the Ace. But this Roger is the one I actually have the most experience with. So let's get into it, shall we? I'm gonna divide this deck list into three components, basically. Searchers, 2Ks, no, four. Searchers, 2Ks, Rampers, and Endgame. So, first and foremost is the Searcher, which is Chunks. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just play him, look at the 5 cards, look at, pick up one of the Roger Pirates and add it to your hand. The targets that are not actually searchable are mostly of your top end of the deck, which is Chunks, Newgate, Katakuri, and maybe Bonclay. You kind of do want to see Bonclay a lot, but the rest pretty much all searchable, so pretty nice to add consistency to the deck. One thing that I should point out, since we're talking about consistency, probably the only weakness of this deck is consistency. This deck can roll every single other deck, it doesn't matter who it is on the other side. It is super simple to play. The problem is you don't have that much consistency compared to the other decks, and that's what puts like a very big cap on the deck. Like it's not top 1 because of that, okay? Now, let's go to the 2Ks. Buggy is not only a 2K, he's also Ramper in case you go in first. He's very good to see on your starting hand, probably priority as well. And so, yeah, pretty simple, also searchable. Next is the Uta. Uta is more to help you in the top end. If you have a 10k power or more character on your field, she becomes 2 costs. Yeah, 2 costs. So she becomes very simple to play after you play a Newgate, a Shanks, or sometimes you can attach it on to Gaban or Katakuri, make them 10k, and then play her for cost of 2. So she's a chump blocker, very good into the Green Zoro matchup as an example, and usually she's very good at protecting Shanks from that same Green Zoro. So yeah, she's very... In my opinion, some people play Uzohashi and not Uta. I think Uta is much stronger. And last 2k is Sanji. Now, because we don't have a lot of consistency, well, we have some consistency, but not that much. What you have to compensate for that is Sanji 2k. This Sanji, pretty much, you can play it on your first turn or second turn. There are some combos here and there you can do. I'll give you an example just in a second. If you don't see ramp, and so you can at least play him, and next turn you can play the ramp, and then use Sanji's effect, swing with him, plus the swing with the leader. That makes a lot of aggression on your opponent, and so is very good at being added to the deck. Right now he's a 3F, I was trying him at 4, but to be honest, he's not really that needed at 4. So it's a 3F, and a very good one at that. He's also not searchable, so Uta and Sanji not searchable for Shanks. Again, that does... that does hurt us on the consistency end, but yeah, very good. One of the combos I can do with Sanji is sometimes you can actually ramp with Bonclay. This is usually when you're going first and you ramp on your first turn. You have 5 Dawn, you play Bonclay, you get 1 active Dawn, still have 1 left out, you can play Sanji, and then you have 3 swings next turn, which is Sanji, leader, and Bonclay. Very good pressure. This also is possible with Bullet. Same thing, you play Bullet, you get 1 rested Dawn, you still have 2 Dawn left out, and you can play Sanji. You can set up Sanji. You can go very aggressive with this deck. This deck is very good at going aggro because the defense of your deck is into your stats. A 7k leader, that's it. Plus and other things that I'm going to talk about in the top end. Those are the 2Ks. Now let's go into the Rampers, where I've talked about one, which is Buggy. The next one I'm going to talk about is Bullet. Pretty safe Ramper. He's a 3 cost. You kind of want to play low cost Rampers. That's why, by the way, that's why Bonclay is here. And Bullet is a very good body to drop on early. Because you drop him, you ramp, you set up a swing next turn, because next turn you're ramping again and he becomes a 6k swing, which means you can most of the time swing into most leaders. So very good. Also is a body that usually people ignore to give priority to Bon Clay or sometimes Scopper Gaban. But again, he goes... Worst case scenario, he's a 1k on late game, but yeah, very good on early game. And when going second, he's your main ramper, because on your second turn you should have 4 Dawn, but you don't, because you need to attach 1 to your leader, and so you have 3 Dawn left to use, and so Bullet is a curve play as a ramper, so very good. Next is Bon Clay. Now, Bon Clay is somewhat expensive, he's actually going up in price as we speak, but he's definitely the best ramper over here, because he gives you an active Dawn, which enables your combos with Sanji. Not only that, worst case scenario, you can play him and then you have 1 active Dawn to use with this event. And only that, he copies the power of someone on the other side. So against the top end decks, usually play like the blue 9 gates, the blue new gate, sorry, with 12k power. If you set him up and he doesn't get removed, then it's a 12k swing for free. So yeah, it's very good, and he's not a brick, he's a 1k. That's why he's being played at 4. If you don't have money for him, I'm gonna have to suggest Inuarashi. He's 3 cost like Bullet, but you cannot swing with him at any time, unless you attach 2 Dawn, but that's very hard. But it is a possibility. You can also go up on Odense, but I wouldn't recommend it, okay? Speaking of Oden, he's the next ramper. He's at 2 because you don't really see him, because he starts being 5 costs is a very weird cost to have in terms of ramper or top end. So you're gonna kind of only play 2 because he's an extra blocker as a ramper. So it just adds some consistency to the deck, because he's also searchable with chunks. So the 2 copies are just in case I need a ramper and all of a sudden he comes and I can use him. That's pretty much it. It's just most of the time is in case I draw him, or if I don't hit anything else with the search. So yeah, it just adds a bit more consistency. He's also a blocker, which usually also means he's gonna bait out some removal from your opponent's hand, so he does spend some resources from your opponent anyways. So yeah, very good. Next ramper, and the best ramper at that, is Gaban. He pretty much is the perfect card for you, because you play a lot of bricks as a top end, and sometimes you'll see that you're bricked up. Sometimes you need to have you need to play on curve, so that means most of these, like this event here, becomes just a brick in your hand. So in case you need to get it off of you, he just cycles, because you play him, he draws 2 cards, discards 1, so he replaces himself already with a draw 1, and cycles out a brick for something that you for something better, obviously, whatever you need. And then he actually ramps you a Dawn. Not only that, he's a 6 cost 7k power, which is a very good stat line. So, and he's not a brick, so yeah, he's definitely a 4 of. Also, the fact that you draw and trash adds super consistency to the deck. Much needed. Super consistency, obviously an overstatement, but yeah, very good card. It's my favorite card from the deck, so yeah. Last ramper that I'm gonna talk about is the event of 1 cost. This, if you play during your main turn, you actually need to rest 1 Dawn plus another Dawn, so this is actually a 2 cost event, not a 1, and you ramp 1 rested Dawn. So this usually, if you don't see Buggy, you kind of want to see this. If you have both, I suggest you to use this one, because Buggy still is a 2k, and this just becomes a brick during your opponent's turn, so in case you need to counter, usually it's better to leave Buggy on your hand. Just in case of emergency, it depends on the matchup and the situation and so on and so forth. So yeah, now let's go into the top end. The top end is what I consider top end, is Katakuri, Rayleigh, Roger, Shanks, and Newgate. Let's talk about these 2. Katakuri is very good because he's also somewhat of a ramper, but he's the last ramper that you're going to be playing. Pretty much these 2 make sure that once you pass turn, you become a 7k during your opponent's turn. So that's very good because it helps you with the defense, which I told you already, it's the main source of defense of the entire deck actually. It's actually just a stat line. So Katakuri very strong because you can play him. He's a blocker that can swing during your turn and block attacks during your opponent's turn, and is that last ramp that you need. Rayleigh is the opposite. He's the super offensive tool. You rest a 5 costs or less character from your opponent. He has rush and he ramps you that last on once you pass turn. Not only that, one little thing that Rayleigh has that Katakuri doesn't is Rayleigh gives you 1 Dawn as active, which means he enables this event to protect you a bit better. So yeah, but a swing from Katakuri that can block next turn is as good. That's why I distributed them as 3 and 3. Because it depends on the matchup what you want to see. Usually against Emo, for example, I prefer Rayleigh. Against some other matchups, I prefer Katakuri. So yeah. Next top end is, actually I'm gonna talk about Shanks. Shanks is somewhat of the ace of the deck. You kind of want to do all of this ramp during early and mid game to reach Shanks a turn before your opponent reaches 10 Dawn. It doesn't matter how much you ramp, even if you manage to do double ramp, you only play Shanks a turn earlier. But he's very good because he's a rush character that keeps depleting the characters from your opponent's board minus 1k. So this means your leader, pretty much becomes an 8k leader for the rest of the game for your opponent's characters. Obviously, people are playing tech to remove him, but still, at least you get super value out of him because he has rush, so it means you can still attack with him, and if he gets removed, you got the attack, so it's pretty good value nonetheless. Next is Newgate. Normally you want to give priority to Shanks, and then you kind of want to like block her up with Uta and Oden, or in other cases you play Newgate. This makes your leader a 9k. So that's on top of if you play the Shanks last turn, it means that he's actually a 10k leader for the opponent's characters, which is insane. And obviously if you don't see Shanks, you still see you hopefully still see Newgate, and so at least he buys you sometimes, and it's really good. Also, he's a 9 cost, so that means he leaves the 1 Dawn active, so you can use this event in case you need for defense, which I keep saying this because this type of situations come a lot where you kind of want to have an active Dawn to abuse this event to counter your opponent's attacks, to kind of abuse your sight line very well. So yeah. And lastly is the Roger. Roger is your finisher. Some people like to play at 3, I like to play at 2 because I never really play it that much. But yeah, some people prefer to play him at 3 to make sure they see him, because he, pretty much if you're at 0 lives or your opponent's at 0 lives, that means your opponent can no longer play blocker. He cannot block your attack, so he insta loses. That's the effect, he insta loses, it doesn't matter. So he's a very strong card to drop to finish game. But obviously if you don't see Shanks, if you don't see Newgate, if you don't see Katakuri, or Katakuri and Rayleigh are not a good drop for the situation, Roger probably will be the next option. And so you drop him, you have a rush 13 character every turn, very hard to deal with, doesn't matter what the opponent does, he needs to spend a lot of resources just to get rid of this card. So it's still good, it's not as nice as if you played the perfect curve, obviously. Usually what you want to do is use him as a finisher. That's pretty much it. The deck is super simple, the strategy is super simple. You want to ramp early, mid game, late game you start dropping your big bodies, Shanks, Newgate, and Roger. These two also come up if you don't see if you don't see the other 3, but the priority is obviously Shanks, that's why he's a 4 of, and all the others are 3 and 2 of. Shanks being off the field, and if he stays on the field, is huge. Not only that, if you have 2 on the field, usually it's auto win for you. Just be careful, because again, this comes up a lot. You are spending 10 Dawn to drop him, that means you don't have an active Dawn for the event. And because you're kind of inconsistent, you may be bricked up the rest of your hand, so be careful with that, so the opponent does not go aggro on you and finish this game without you expecting it. But yeah, this is the list I'm gonna start with, this is the list you can start with, it's a very good list, and in my opinion, the ratios are perfect. This is a list on December. Once Promo Roger comes, here it is, pretty much everything stays the same, we just remove 1 Shanks, 1 Newgate, and we remove Katakuri, yeah. We just remove Katakuri to add the 4 Promo Rogers, and I add an extra Sanji. Now, with this strategy, it's a bit different. Shanks is no longer priority. As you can see, the priority shifts to Promo Roger. Why? Because he's searchable. That's pretty much it. Because he's searchable, it makes the strategy super consistency. So instead of you decreasing the power of your opponent, you're just going up in power with the Promo Roger. So you want to chain as many Promo Rogers as you can. If you don't see Promo Roger, hopefully you see the new gate. That's why I'm playing 2, just to add a bit more consistency to that chain. Shanks, still very good, obviously, if you have the opportunity to play him, if you do the perfect line and you ramp, if you can still play him a turn before your opponent reaches 10 on, that's what you want to do most of the time. So yeah, but if you don't see him, you're most definitely gonna see Promo Roger because he's searchable. That's pretty much it. And remember, you have the Gaban cycle. So that's pretty much that's it. That's a whole difference in strategy. It's just you kind of prefer to chain the Promo Roger over actively searching for Shanks. It's very hard to come up with Shanks because he's not searchable. So that means Gaban is the only guy who can make you stumble upon it, or he comes from lives or top deck. So this adds consistency to the defenses of your deck, which, as I told you, is stats. If your leader is 7k, you make your leader a 9k, that's huge. And then he's a 10k power, so that means you can still play Uta as a 2-cost, as a jump blocker, or you do whatever you need to do, you know? So it just opens a very good window, and it's a huge buff to the deck. So this was the video of Promo Roger. Tomorrow there will be an Ace deck list, and 2 days there will be a Purple Kata deck list for OP13. So I hope to see you there. If you like the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.